plus the big star would be the Real American Voices.
Jesus!
All right, yes. Lost his line there.
That's okay.
A very big thank you to Ed Henry and Karyn Turk and Terrance Bates on America's Sunrise. Watch America's Sunrise.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome to this American Sunrise, live in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
And live in our Denver, Colorado studio. So good to see you on this Tuesday morning. I got excited there. Ed and Karyn, good morning.
It sounds like it. What the heck is going on with YouTube? So now they're already saying they're going to censor Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and all of his videos about the vaccine. So you speak some truth bombs and big tech. What are they scared of, guys? What is the Democrat Party scared of? They're already saying that RFK Jr. won't be on a debate stage with Joe Biden. He's already been in double digits, over 20% in some polls. They're scared in the White House. They're scared of big tech. This is more election interference.
This is Big Brother. This is Big Brother all the way.
Terrance?
Yeah, and, it seems like the Democratic Party really over the past several election cycles has had its candidate, and any alternative to that candidate is silenced, is marginalized, and I think we're seeing that again with Robert Kennedy here.
No doubt about it. And this is why the people still love President Trump, right? There's no BS. He'll say what's on his mind. Election interference, indictments, Fox News even coming after him. He faces down Bret Baier and says to his face what a lot of people are thinking. Watch.
Continuation.
More independent voters watch Fox News than any other TV source.
A lot less than used to watch it.
They do watch. Those voters usually make up
a lot less.
A lot less. Well, obviously.
Terrance?
Yeah, it's, I watched several excerpts from that interview, and I was chuckling. Let me put it to you that way. As a reporter, you hate to be in that seat where somebody's literally calling you out and there's not much you can say. I'm sure you've been there as well. Actually, I must admit, I've never been there because typically I'm on my stuff. So if I ask you a question, I typically know the answer. But I can imagine being in that kind of seat and saying, hearing somebody say to your face, yeah, pretty much you suck. You suck and you don't have the viewers that you want.
But less people are watching.
Yeah.
And they're touting how many people are watching, so a lot less.
Yeah, absolutely. He tells it like it is. That's why people love him, and that's why he was elected, and probably will be elected again. Please God.
Please God. There you go. Jesus Calling is coming up in a minute.
Okay, good.
You have any questions about Joe Biden and his performance on the other side? Don't worry. Jean-Pierre is telling us that he's basically accomplished more than any president ever in human history. Watch.
I think if you look at what the president has done the last 2 years, it is more than any other president has done ever, right?
Ever. And even CNN is saying, we're not really buying it because the people are not buying it. Watch.
I think what the Biden administration is challenged by, in addition to what Phil just laid out, is that what people are feeling at home is different than the message they're portraying. And they understand that there's a conflict there. They do have a record. They do have accomplishments, but they also know that people at home still think gas is too high. It might be lower than what it was a year ago, but they still say there's pain at the pump. The same thing at the grocery store with prices, with the price of goods, their rent going up, all these things that people say they don't think they're in a great financial position. So it's hard for them to receive a message from the president saying, hey, you guys are doing better. Look what I've done. It's just, I think there's a disconnect there that, quite frankly, there's no easy answer for how the White House deals with that disconnect because they kind of don't really have a way to fix it.
They don't have a way.
Hard for them to understand the message that's being thrown down their throat that's completely untrue. It's just incredible, the narrative that these people
How stupid the White House thinks people are. And here's this analyst who leans left saying, yeah, people aren't buying it, Terrance, because they don't feel the economic recovery. And Jean-Pierre, that's why I set it up with that other clip. He's done more than any president ever.
And guys,
the people don't believe it.
Yeah, and I've been saying this for months. You've heard me say the rhetoric coming out of the White House versus the reality that Americans are feeling are very different. That rhetoric does not at all match up to the reality that Americans are dealing with.
All right. Well, there's
It's just a mess. I'm thinking about why Kamala Harris talks to people like they're children, because that's how they treat everybody. Nobody has any intelligence.
Little word salad cackle.
Incredible.
Right? Yeah. You know what's deadly serious, though, is the threat from China. And we know Joe Biden is compromised. We're going to talk about James Comer and new information leaking out about the various investigations in a minute. Tony Schaefer will be here a little later this hour talking about that threat from China. Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State's over there. He's been completely treated, like a third-class citizen. China has made it clear they have no use for the Biden administration. So what happens when he goes to a news conference there? He basically says there's a green light now for China to attack Taiwan. It is chilling. Watch.
On Taiwan, I reiterated the long-standing U.S. One China policy. That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences.
Yeah, they want peace. But remember, Terrance, a few months ago, Joe Biden said that we would defend Taiwan. And there was, is there a change in U.S. policy? No, we're going to go in and defend them. And Blinken is saying, you're on your own.
And again, there's a disconnect in the rhetoric from the White House to Congress. And I'm just talking about one party. There's a disconnect just within the Democrat Party specific to relations with Taiwan, specific to the U.S. commitment to Taiwan. And even within the upper echelons of the Biden administration now, we're seeing that disconnect in terms of messaging. And so that's got to cause problems. And for China in particular, it's got to raise some concerns in terms of weakness within the administration because there's no consistency, or it doesn't appear to be that way.
Yeah, and we're scary times right now.
We are, and we're going to show a tweet in a few minutes from Gordon Chang, who's a very sober, calm analyst, has been here at Real America's Voice many times. I'm telling you, go watch his Twitter feed. He knows China better than anyone, and every day he says, pray harder than you ever have.
Yeah. Because it's quietly, things are happening quietly, and we don't really know what's going on in many cases.
And it's very serious, but a lighter moment here, Terrance, hang on, which is that Donald Trump always talks about how we are closer to World War III under Joe Biden than ever, even though all of these analysts, these fake analysts, kept saying Trump is going to push us into World War III. So I got to ask you this question, Karyn, whether you think the left, this was a funny, feminists, when they hear people are being drafted now for World War III, do you think, I want to get your perspective on it. You think women all of a sudden will say, hang on a second, I kind of want to check out the kitchen?
I think they should check out the kitchen anyway. They don't need to cook, but I'm a big fan of doing dishes, so this is real life.
We know that you like to clean up.
I do.
It's a habit. It's a habit. But I do think, Terrance, that there'll be people on the left who will all of a sudden find...
Terrance. I love it.
Oh, my goodness. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm listening. I am listening. I had a moment, but I am listening. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'm glad you had that moment. Let's push forward. I want to say that many people are writing me now saying that they agree with me, that they are casting the show. This is a thing the kids do. Honey West fan. Hey, Ed, besides casting, if you have a smart TV, you can download the PLUTO TV app, which is on a lot of smart TVs.
Yes.
Karen, and watch RAV on your TV. And guess what? It's free. You don't pay anything. It's right there in the smart TV. Hey, if you buy a Samsung smart TV, Samsung TV Plus on the right, bang, 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 and
it's
you get
right
down
there.
the route.
And you can go to PLUTO.
So it's like casting it.
You have a variety of options. Technology.
Sonny,
wow.
These intelligent televisions, I don't understand them, these intelligent televisions.
Smart
they're
TV.
smart. So that means they're intelligent as well, right, Sonny? No.
I got a great FBI disaster story in terms of the abuses and ridiculousness. So you remember the Seth Rich story and this controversy? The poor person was murdered, and there was a question about did he have inside information? Was somebody out to get him? The FBI is now asking a judge to delay Seth Rich laptop release, guys, for 66 years. He was a young staffer at the DNC. There were questions. There were all these lawsuits about it. So if there's nothing to hide, Karyn, why would we need to keep
66 years?
And he was killed in like 2016.
What a
this is
random
awful.
number, but why are they asking for that? Is there some statute? Like,
At least
what's
it's not
the? I need to go down a rabbit hole on
666
this.
years.
I don't know.
Right. I mean, if you're not hiding anything, I mean, if there's some privacy concern, 10, 20 years, maybe, but he already was killed almost a decade ago.
Right. Like if they're, and I would even say, in these circumstances, maybe 5 years, is particularly if you're not trying to hide anything. And if there is something, on that computer that potentially, affects national security, then I would say maybe release part of it in a reasonable amount of time, allow somebody an opportunity to go through.
There's something about Obama, Clinton, the Democrats, 2016, Russia collusion. There's something there.
Right. So, like I said, go through it, scrub it, but release the pertinent information. 66 years just seems like an arbitrary number. Seems like somebody just kind of pulled it out of the sky and like, you know what?
You're a numbers for it. 6'6".
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
That might be a rabbit hole for tomorrow,
Might
but
be.
for now, we got a rabbit hole coming in a minute, so stick around. Daily Wire has this story. I teed it up a minute ago. James Comer now planning to bring in key witnesses in the Biden family probe. He did an interview on Fox, shared insight into what steps he's going to take. And he's saying, Karyn, there's millions and millions of dollars flowing to the Biden family. We've known some of this, but he's getting even more information. And look, the mainstream media just simply will not cover this.
Mm-hmm. They just don't. I mean, there's just silence because who do they work for? Who do they work for?
They don't work for the people, it seems like.
And again, where there's smoke, there's fire. We all tend to know that. And there's absolutely smoke coming from the FBI. There are these allegations out there. And it seems that there would be a good investigative journalist out there who would be working on this, trying to follow up some leads. We do know there are some good investigative journalists.
John Solomon, he'll be here next hour.
Exactly.
Yeah, he'll be here next hour. Good tease. Now, Karyn, a lot of people, as I say, are getting behind me on this casting thing. But others are getting on me for making fun of you months ago when we traveled and you put a blanket over your head on a plane. What was the reason, real quick?
I like it quiet. I like my own little air. I mean, I'm breathing in a little carbon dioxide. It's just a whole, there's a lot of people on an airplane, okay? A lot of people around you, a lot of germs, a lot of things that you can't avoid. So in my bubble, I'm happy.
It's your bubble. So a
blanket.
viewer said this, Ed, you made fun of Karyn for putting a blanket over her head. Look at this Looney Tune. The lady next to me, somebody posted on a flight, bought all 3 seats and tried to make her own fort out of plastic wrap. And I think there's some video of a steward saying, ma'am,
can't do this.
You just simply can't do this. And maybe we'll show that. But in any event,
I'm trying to figure this out because it doesn't look like her legs are in the air here.
Yes, she was trying to wrap it up. And guys, there was a video attached to it. Okay, you have it written down, but we don't have it.
It's, here's the thing with this. I feel like this has got to be staged in some way because I don't know about you, but when I fly, there's people all over you watching you. How would you get away with the plastic wrap and be able to wrap that entire thing without any of your neighbors saying anything?
It must have been planned. It must have been staged. It must have been for the Instagram.
It had to be.
But you know what? This leads us to an effort to go down the rabbit hole with Karyn.
Yeah.
So, Karyn, I have a question. Is this the future of air travel? I think there's a new website called The Messenger. They say, if we put this up, that Alejandro Vicente, 23, has been working on the Che Lounge economy seat for 3 years. There it is. Showing off an updated prototype at the Aircraft Interiors Expo in Hamburg, Germany. He says it will provide more leg room and comfort. Various designers are defending this virally mocked airplane seat. This will work at some point, and people will be grateful for it, he claims. Now, I feel bad for the third guy who seems to be stuffed. The guy in the middle seems super happy, like a king. Karyn, is this the future of air travel? Have you gone down the rabbit hole?
I have, and this picture is disturbing, but that's actually one of the better pictures because there's no roof on the airplane. You can't actually see the perspective of the no headroom. I mean, this is a mess. This is a mess, and I think Spirit Airlines will be first. That'll be my prediction because it's pretty bad over there already. This is a whole other level. Imagine having somebody's rear end in your face the entire flight, plus the fact that the guy underneath.
Wait, where is that in that picture?
Go back to the photo.
Can we see the photo?
The guy up top, there you go. You see the guy there at the very back.
There's a seat in between. His rear end is not.
I mean, there's a seat in between, but how much protection is that little thin seat offering?
And let's be honest. If someone's flatulent, nah.
But would happen now because you don't have a seat. If you're sitting and someone in the middle seat is doing that, you're right next to them. What are you talking about?
Right, but it's not in your face. And this is why the internet went crazy. And I'm so glad you said it because I wasn't going to say it. I was just going to talk about where the body part was positioned. Terrance went for the detail, but that's what people are tweeting about.
That's what people are tweeting about. So thanks for going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Why don't we get some religion and do a little bit?
Thank you. Jesus calling. I speak to you continually. My nature is to communicate, though not always in words. I fling glorious sunsets across the sky day after day and day after day. I speak in the faces and the voices of your loved ones. I caress you with a gentle breeze that refreshes and delights you. I speak softly in the depths of your spirit where I've taken up residence. And this comes from Psalm 19:1-2. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day, they pay forth speech. Night after night, they display knowledge.
Beautiful way to get this day going. Amen. Terrance, I know you got some headlines.
That's right. President Trump and his lawyers are under court orders not to release evidence related to the 30-plus count federal indictment against the 45th president. On Monday, U.S. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhardt ruled that no evidence in the classified documents case can be shared with the media or the public. Plus, Mr. Trump can't keep copies of the case materials and can only view them under direct supervision from members of his defense team. In the meantime, the former president is explaining why he held on to the boxes of documents that led to his indictment.
Because I had boxes. I want to go through the boxes and get all my personal things out. I don't want to hand that over to NARA yet. And I was very busy, as you've sort of seen.
Yeah, but according to the indictment, you then tell this aide to move to other locations after telling your lawyers to say you'd fully complied with the subpoena when you hadn't.
But before I send boxes over, I have to take all of my things out. These boxes were interspersed with all sorts of things.
That was President Trump during an interview with Bret Baier on Monday. President Trump has pleaded not guilty to all 37 counts against him. In the meantime, there is new reporting out that President Trump's classified documents trial may not even start until 2025, which would be after the election and possibly while he is a sitting president. Court watchers are predicting procedural delays and challenges will likely push the trial back. Quoting a former CIA attorney, The Hill reports, bringing the case against Mr. Trump to trial within a year will likely be difficult given the highly sensitive classified information at issue. Plus, the former president and his legal team will likely seek every delay possible. Another factor that may delay things is security clearances for the Trump legal team. Today is the deadline for the lawyers to apply for those clearances, which ultimately could take weeks to process. President Trump's other legal matter in New York has Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who is bringing the case defending himself against the lawsuits related to his indictment against Mr. Trump. The Heritage Foundation is suing Bragg, saying that he's refusing to share key details about the background of what the foundation describes as a legal vendetta against the former president. The foundation has even filed a Freedom of Information Act request seeking to determine whether Bragg was actively plotting with congressional Democrats to indict the 45th president and if there were side deals cut for legal services. One suit calls the case against Mr. Trump a persecution, not a prosecution, saying, quote, these criticisms and the congressional investigations featured front and center in reports that DA Bragg may have coordinated his case with President Trump's political opponents in the White House, the United States Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Congress. Bragg's case centers around documentation related to Stormy Daniels' hush money payments, by the way, in case you didn't know. Well, that's going to do it for your headlines. I'll have more headlines coming your way here in just a little bit. But now, let's get you back to hashtag KED. That would be Karyn and Ed.
Well, Terrance, Karyn, there were some questions about what you both, the conclusion you both came to about that airplane. RD518 is saying methane goes up or down?
I don't know.
Wouldn't methane go up? So now this whole theory you have about the man in the middle seat.
Does methane go? All right.
I'm
sorry, I missed that science class. Does it go up? I guess it does.
That may be why the cows and the ozone and the whole environmental.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense.
The Be Good says more people will be pulling the emergency exit than ever. And I saw someone else, Coda Loco said, simply, take the train, which may be what a lot of you were saying you should drive.
Earlier, drive, and we were talking about station wagons, and I said, whatever happened to the family truckster?
Well, I don't remember that
from
Do
Vacation?
they even make
the movie?
station wagons
I don't
anymore?
remember that.
Yeah, National
There are
Lampoon's
station wagons, I think, out there. I had a cousin who had a country Squire, and we would always sit in the backpack, all the kids, and ultimately we would always pump our feet and stuff. And so the bottom in the backpack, there was a big hole, and we could actually put our feet on the cement.
Lovely.
They'd be putting parents in jail right now if you did that. Well, because you don't remember those things in the backpack where you could sit, and it was like the country Squire station wagon. It was pretty cool.
It was rough in like the
I'm gonna
early
get a picture.
80s.
Was it wood grains on the side?
70s.
Yeah.
Wood on the side, absolutely.
Yeah.
Guess what? China snubs the Biden administration. No shocker there, but there's high stakes. Tony Schaefer's here live right after a quick break.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Good morning, Patriots, wherever you may be casting this fine show, streaming it on your phone, and then casting it to an old TV set just like that. Just like the Vista, by the way, a lot of the Patriots, Trixie in the mix, reflecting on a Vista Cruiser with a huge cooler of beer. You remember the Vista Cruiser? We're going to have to do a rabbit hole on all these.
We have to do like all these
pictures,
these
video,
classic
because it is
station wagons.
like reminiscent, and it's very cool. Here we go. There's one of them. Let's put it up. There's a Vista Cruiser. Nice job.
Wow.
That is a heck of a vehicle.
I remember this car.
Yeah.
One of our neighbors had this car.
Did you say it's Pontiac or is it? I can't see it. Oldsmobile. Wow. There you go. Wow, Oldsmobile they don't even make anymore, right? It was
That's
GM.
a classic, and it's brown too.
All right, we have David had a red one with wood sides. Boy, he must be old. I didn't realize he was that old.
Wow, he said something the other day too on the phone about grandkids, and you were surprised.
He doesn't sound that old, does he?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I didn't think about it actually.
I want to get to the Daily Biden before we get to the headlines.
Oh, we should.
Did you know that Joe Biden's had a long relationship with Eva Longoria?
Well, I saw some of these clips, so
let's show it to the Patriots and react. Watch.
We've known each other a long time. She was 17, I was 40. That's it. Thank you.
Not awkward at all.
No,
Not at all.
No, that was a political event. You saw a little awkward laughter there. What do you say? What do you say? Let's say that we've got some headlines, and they're sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
And there we are. Guys, Joe Korf, friend of the show, is in the live chat on Getter. And by the way, there's over 3,000 people already in just 20-some-odd minutes. So many people interacting, great patriots. Joe Korf, who is kind of around this business, says methane is lighter than air, so it will go up. So the rabbit hole suffered from a little lot of research today.
Rabbit hole, pun intended there.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
What about the guy who spills his drink? What
so we're shifting it now.
Liquids?
You didn't mention that earlier.
Well, I'm just saying there could
So
be
liquids would go
as well,
down,
right?
They're not lighter than air.
No.
So you spill a drink. So that might be a fair point.
M&Ms, people eating, dropping lettuce, shredded lettuce.
Is there a lot of shredded lettuce on planes?
People are eating.
Yeah, no, okay.
Is this a problem right now in air travel? A lot of shredded lettuce that's out there.
There was a problem recently.
You had a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I get to these headlines so we can get back to why she had a problem with shredded lettuce?
Yeah, please. I want to hear that. We'll give her a minute. Go for it.
Wow. Okay. So as the federal classified documents case against him continues to move forward, President Trump is now pointing out what many consider the unjust application of the law in his case.
But you want to talk about a mess? Take a look at Biden, where he's got 1,850 boxes. He has boxes stored in Chinatown in D.C. He has boxes stored at Penn Center, and he has boxes under his Corvette and around his Corvette sitting in a garage for years where it was very seriously classified. I have every right to have those boxes. This is purely a Presidential Records Act. This is not a criminal thing.
And happening today, Trump attorney John Eastman is scheduled to spend the day testifying before the California State Bar in order to defend himself against 11 disciplinary charges related to his legal strategy designed to keep President Trump in the White House after the 2020 election. The California State Bar is looking to disbar Eastman. If the court finds that Eastman is culpable of the alleged violations, it could recommend that his law license either be suspended or revoked entirely. However, the ultimate decision will be up to the California Supreme Court. Eastman was one of President Trump's lawyers during the 2020 election. In a memo, he argued that then Vice President Mike Pence could keep Trump in power by overturning the election results during a joint session of Congress to count electoral votes. Critics argue that memo was like staging a coup, which is what led to today's hearing. In other news, the search for a missing submarine carrying 5 people to the wreckage site of the Titanic continues. It vanished in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. Search and rescue crews are up against the clock seeking to find this sub, as the people on board are believed to only have between 70 and 96 hours worth of oxygen left. The U.S. Coast Guard says additional aircraft, commercial ships, and other assets are now being added to the search in hopes of finding the wayward craft. There's been no contact with that sub since Sunday morning. That's a quick check of your headlines brought to you by AMAC. Now, let's get back to Karyn and Ed and this issue with lettuce. Please, Karyn, do tell.
It was funny because it was so random. Like, who eats shredded lettuce on a plane?
Yeah.
And it was sort of everywhere. Like, someone had spilled like a whole salad when I got on the plane, and it was just funny because it was like shredded lettuce.
Was this
like, so
Air
random.
Force 2 with the word salad vice president?
And it made me think about that. It made me laugh.
There you go.
Okay.
Terrance, appreciate All right. Appreciate you as always. Let's get on to Tony Shaffer. We're going to talk some serious business here with China. Secretary of State Tony Blinken has been there in China getting humiliated, let's say. Let's bring in Tony Shaffer, not Tony Blinken. Good morning, Tony. Welcome back.
Hey, good morning. I'm not Tony Blinken,
Nope.
Thank goodness. I would not want to be him after what happened. So.
Yeah.
Are you a car guy, by the way, real quick? Did you have any of these old vehicles, any of these old mobiles, any of these?
I am a car guy. I own a number of cars, but I sadly never owned a station wagon. As much as I think I've wrote, like you, Ed, you talked about riding in them. I rode them as a kid, especially those with the with paneling. I never owned one, and Karyn, they do still make them. It's just they're all like souped up now. I think Mercedes makes one, and there's a few others that make them, and they don't look like father's Osmo, so to speak. Yeah.
It's not your father's old.
Wow. What you're saying, Mercedes makes one now?
There you go. You're excited.
Interesting. I don't know. I'm going to have to Google this.
There you go.
Go get one.
Let's move on to China. We played the clip a few moments ago where Tony Blinken basically green light if China wants to hit Taiwan. And this came after Rick Rennell, close to President Trump, said Blinken was humiliated in China. The world doesn't respect the Biden team. And what you see on top is Blinken arriving with like no fanfare, nothing. And on the right, I believe, is President Macron of France. Yeah, who basically got the honor guard and the motorcycles and the black vehicles. And on the left there is sad old Tony Blinken all by himself being greeted probably by, the 39th highest official in the embassy. I mean, what is going on?
Right. So they don't respect us, and I think we're going to come to find that a countdown started. The moment Blinken announced that we, quote unquote, do not support a democratic Taiwan, that starts a countdown, Ed. This is like 1938, Chamberlain, peace for our time, waving the sheet of paper when he got off the plane from meeting with Herr Hitler. This is the same thing. And the reason I'm saying this is because they basically have given territorial demands up to Beijing. They basically said, we don't care about Taiwan. So that means at this point, as far as I'm concerned, this is like Sudetenland and Czechoslovakia in 1938. History does not repeat itself, but it takes examples and repeats them. So I think we're going to now we're going to note this trip as that point in time where that countdown started. And let's remember, Ed and Karyn, he didn't mention one thing. He talked about candid and substantive and constructive discussions, but he didn't talk about COVID origins, didn't talk about the balloon issue, didn't talk about Lourdes and the new signals intelligence station in Cuba, didn't talk about fentanyl to any great degree, and basically acknowledged that China, through some of their companies they don't control, are helping the Russians. This was a complete disaster.
You gave me chills when you said 1938, and I'm thinking about the genocide in China and things that happened, during Hitler's reign.
Exactly.
It's really crazy, the similarities when you put them together that way. You put a year on it.
Absolutely. Why do you use that? To Karyn's point, I know you to be a very sober, careful intelligence analyst who doesn't just throw out wild theories. You threw one that seemed wild to me when I was at Fox and Friends about the Obama administration spying on Trump, and Tony was right. It was not a wild conspiracy theory. You were right. So why do you use this analogy now?
So there's two things. The Han, the lead, the culture really does, and my friend Gordon Chang talks about all the time, they really do see themselves as the chosen people of the world. There's a lot of issues, Karyn, that do parallel the Nazi belief that they were the superior race. The Han Chinese think of themselves in this way as well. And you've seen this too. They're going after the Uyghurs and other minority groups. They are indeed taking people, putting them in camps. We've seen the pictures. And then when you combine that with the desire of Xi, of Premier Xi, to start expanding back and taking back territory, it's a witch's brew, which looks a lot like Nazi Germany 1938. And again, I am comparing directly, and I'm saying this on the record, Ed. The moment they talked about when Blinken said, we don't care about a democratic Taiwan, to me, that opened the door for China to have the green light to go do things, much like Joe Biden gave the green light to Putin to invade Ukraine by saying, if you take a little bit of territory, it's okay. These people are either completely incompetent or evil, because they're actually, I think, that is Blinken and the Biden folks. They can't be as stupid as they're appearing. So they know, just like I do, what the parallels of history are by using words loosely like that.
Tony, we have just over a minute. You just mentioned Gordon Chang. I mentioned him a few moments ago to tee this up. Let's put it up on the screen because, again, like you, he's a very calm, sober analyst. He's not some crazy, wild man. And he says, and he does this almost every day. I think this was yesterday, the day before, but almost every day, go to his account. Pray your heart out. Then fight with everything you have. This is the critical moment. This man watches China as closely as anybody in the world. Why is, it keeps telling me that he knows something that's coming.
So one of the things that Gordon, I have not spoken to Gordon about this yet, but I'm sure I will this week. Blinken basically said there's no progress to report, but that they're managing the relationship. That's the problem, Ed. They're managing the relationship. They're not trying to resolve issues. And that's what Gordon is commenting on. The very fact that nothing came from this trip other than a bloviating set of comments. I listened to the NPR interview with Blinken, it was something else. And I think Gordon sees what I do. This is a green light for China to continue and expand its aggressive behavior, something we're going to have to deal with within about 5 years.
Wow.
Maybe sooner.
5 years, wow.
Yeah, it's scary
Maybe
times.
sooner.
Tony, we appreciate your sober commentary as always and your sharp analysis. We'll see you next week. Coming up, our great reporter Carolyn Ryan. We've been talking about the LA Dodgers situation. There was a massive protest outside the Dodger Stadium. A lot of Christians standing strong. We'll talk about that coming up. Loza Alexander on the way out. Go to mailmanmediamusic.com because we have breaking news about Kari Lake's song right after this.
Gas too high. That's why gas too high. Can't fill up my tank. That's why gas too high.
Put down Hunter's crack pipe right now. That is such a great start to 81 million votes my ass.
That might be my favorite line in the whole song.
It's amazing.
It really might be
my favorite line. And there was a lot of conversation as we put the song together whether that was the right way to start it.
If it was too much.
And we were vindicated because it just gets you in. And the song keeps growing. It hit 2 Billboard charts last week. We've just officially learned this morning it's hit a 3rd Billboard chart. Let's put it up. Gateway Pundit has the scoop. Kari Lake's hit song, 81 Million Votes My Ass, topping the charts, has now debuted on the Hot Singles chart. What this is called is the Hot 100. So this is Taylor Swift, this is Luke Combs, this is everybody.
Incredible.
81 Million Votes My Ass is there on a 3rd Billboard chart. If you haven't downloaded or streamed, mailmanmediamusic.com. This is what the Hot 100 chart is based on. Physical and digital sales, streaming, and yes, radio play. So we've done a clean version for people who don't like the final word there in the title, so that you can play it on the radio.
That's amazing.
And now it's being played all around the country. I'm getting calls now. Philadelphia radio station called me last night. They want to talk today because they're now playing it. And so talking to Carrie Lake last night, we're now putting together maybe the makings of a second song with her. So
love it. Yay.
It's cool. It's going to be awesome.
Congrats.
It's incredible. So thanks for all the support out there. In the meantime, let's bring in our friend Carolyn Ryan. We had a lot of conversation yesterday in our live chat about what the LA Dodgers have been up to, how Major League Baseball has fallen on their face with Pride Month, and there are a lot of Christians standing up on this. There was a big protest there over the weekend in the parking lot outside Dodger Stadium. We wanted to get all the details. Carolyn, good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning to both of you. Yeah, so I guess you could say when you look at this situation, God wins. So most of you at home have heard about this. We're going to bring you up to speed. So after honoring a group of anti-Catholic drag queens at their 10th annual Pride Night on Friday, the LA Dodgers suffered an absolutely humiliating loss to their biggest rival, the San Francisco Giants. Now, the Giants swept the Dodgers in a 3-game series on the Dodgers' home turf for the first time in over a decade. Now, in Saturday's game, it gets even worse. The Dodgers lost 15-0, which was the largest home loss in 125 years. But listen, suffering a few losses, maybe the least of the Dodgers' worries. The reputational harm the team inflicted upon itself could have far greater consequences. This was the scene inside the stadium before the game as the Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence were being honored with a Community Hero Award. Now, the stadium was virtually empty, as you can see. It did end up filling to normal capacity come game time. But it's clear from this video, nobody was interested in watching this group of grown men who play dress up and call themselves nuns be honored with an award. Meanwhile, contrast that with this. This was a scene on the outside of the stadium. Thousands of Christians gathered for a prayer rally and protest, many angry that the Dodgers would invite this particular LGBTQ group, accusing them of mocking Jesus, calling their performances blasphemous.
We're very angry that the Dodgers invited this group that mocked our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
We're hoping that the Dodgers will see the amount of Catholics and Christians that are showing up here today peacefully and showing that we're not budging. We're drawing a line in the sand and we're putting our faith first, and numbers will show that today.
Now, a Breitbart report describes the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence as drag queens who mock the Catholic faith by performing grotesque sexual acts while using religious imagery, garb, and symbolism. Politicians also weighing in on the controversy, former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard calling out the Dodgers on Twitter for its decision to celebrate this group and points out the California legislature has also honored them.
So tonight is the night that the obscene Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are going to be honored and celebrated by the LA Dodgers. So my question is this: why should the LA Dodgers and state legislators be proud to honor and celebrate this group whose literal claim to fame is their offensive anti-Catholic and anti-Christian religious bigotry? Now is the time that we all need to denounce this hate, to denounce this bigotry, no matter what your religion may be, or if you follow no religion at all.
Now, this controversy has been brewing for weeks. You may remember the Dodgers initially invited this group to their Pride Night. They got a ton of backlash from Catholic and Christian groups, and so the Dodgers disinvited them. Then they got backlash from the other side, the LGBTQ side, and then they caved to that mob. They re-invited them. They honored them at this event. And it ended up that, I think most people just saying, listen, we don't have a problem with the Pride Night. This is an annual event at the Dodgers, never been an issue before this. People have a problem with this specific offensive group, guys.
It's crazy.
It's beyond offensive. It's hard to even watch.
It is, absolutely, but I'm glad you're showing the truth. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Carolyn Ryan, appreciate your reporting as always. In the meantime, I want to talk about our partnership with the Wellness Company. We talk a lot about spike support. You can go there, twc.health/RAV. The spike support right there in the middle. To deal with those spike proteins, a lot of people not feeling 100% coming out of COVID. What they're really doing, big picture, is trying to help you reclaim your medical freedom. And so with that in mind, let's bring in one of the founders, one of the leaders there at the Wellness Company. His is a familiar face, of course, Dr. Peter McCullough, who's been on before and joins us this morning. Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to get to another dramatic example of this phenomenon of died suddenly in just a minute. But since you were on the broadcast last, your folks sent me the second supplement I've been taking, and it's got a good name. It's called Dr. McCullough's Healthy Heart and Muscle. I've been taking it for a couple weeks. It feels great. Tell us what it does. How did you put this together beyond the spike support? Talk about heart and muscle and what this does, sir.
I'm an internist and cardiologist, and for years, patients who have heart disease, particularly what's called cardiomyopathy, they have additional needs. The heart is under strain. So they have additional needs, including B vitamins, D-ribose, L-carnitine, selenium. So instead of having patients buy half a dozen different supplements, we combine it into one high-quality product, and it works well. I'm very satisfied. I recommend it to my patients in my practice.
Okay, well, it's something to pay attention to.
It's just, you brought up heart issues, and people in the chat are already talking just as soon as they see you there about things that are happening in their own families, people dying suddenly, and now there's this rapper in Houston, Big Pokey, who died mysteriously yesterday.
Okay, I think over the weekend, yeah. Let's play that video. I'm sure you've seen it, but we mentioned it on the show. Let's quickly play this rapper in the middle of a performance, just dropping dead. I think he was just about 45 years old. Watch.
Hey, DJ, come on, man, give me some pet or something, man. Stop playing with him, big homie. Pass out, man. Hey, big Polio, the pass out.
I mean, it never gets less difficult to watch, and you can see this on Liberty Daily. And the mainstream media doesn't talk about it. You're brave enough to talk about it, sir. What in the heck is going on? The man he appeared, I don't know him well, he appeared to be a bit overweight. He's 45, though. And we can never know for sure whether it was the jab, but these people all around the world.
We never saw this before. We never saw this in this number and volume, ever.
And just keels over and dies right before our eyes. What are your thoughts, sir?
It's true. All-cause mortality has skyrocketed since the vaccine rollout. On my Substack today, data from Japan and Germany, sudden death and deaths of all causes skyrocketing. And this looks like another one. But by the way, this looks like a primary ventricular fibrillation arrest. He had no chance to even, demonstrate any chest pain or any difficulty breathing. He just went down like a rock, and that was it. It looks like vaccine-induced myocarditis and then sudden cardiac death due to ventricular fibrillation. That's indeed if he takes the vaccine. Now, his family or his agent can clear this up right away if they come out and say, indeed, he's unvaccinated. But until proven otherwise, I suspect this is vaccine-related sudden death.
Absolutely. And you can say that as a doctor. People in the live chat are getting on me as we speak, saying, why are you hedging about whether it's a jab? I'm not a doctor. I'm never going to play one on TV. We're going to rely on your expertise. You said clearly you can't say for sure, but you've studied this a whole lot closer than any of us, and I appreciate that, of course. And that's why we get your insight. Joe Rogan, we're not going to play. We had a clip, but I just want to briefly I think his name is Dr. Hotez. He's at Baylor University. He's like a rent-a-quote on every mainstream media network about how much we needed masks and how much we needed vaccines. And now Joe Rogan and others are saying, come on the show, debate RFK Jr. You got YouTube taking down RFK Jr.'s videos about the vaccine, big tech with election interference as he runs for president. And now Hotez is running like a scared little child. Why won't these people who pushed for the vaccine so hard and still are defending them, why won't they face the music, sir?
We've wanted the pro-vaccine side to come to the table and just have a discussion on vaccine safety. I testified 3 times in the U.S. Senate. Fauci, Walensky, Jha, Murthy, none of them, with advanced invitation, none of them would come up and face a discussion on vaccine safety. I communicated with Rogan over the weekend and said, listen, I have a few hundred more publications than Hotez does, but, he's in my league. Let's go down to Austin. Let's go over vaccine safety and efficacy. 2 doctors, academically accomplished. RFK is not a doctor. He's running for president. He needs to focus on that. But let's bring Hotez to the table. We'll talk about his involvement in research in Wuhan, and let's talk about the mounting injuries, disabilities, and deaths after the vaccine. He's going to have to face the music. They all will. This is not going to go away.
Yeah, I'd like to see a debate with you and him. That's even better.
Our chat is loving this conversation, by the way, and they're saying, this is healthcare straight from the CCP, and they have really strong feelings about what's going on.
They should. What's your final thought on that when you hear so many patriots around this country responding to you and the wellness company and saying thank you for speaking truth to power, sir?
We've clearly tapped into, a great need in America for an alternative to the orthodoxy in healthcare. Patients are sick and tired of being gaslit, not having options. Wellness company is a breath of fresh air, and the truth will go out, and those on the right side of history will be vindicated. You can see this happening quickly across the country.
Absolutely. Dr. McCullough?
That time.
It is. We appreciate your time and everybody, the partnership with the Wellness Company. We'll see you soon. Coming up, Disney's got a new woke children's film. Guess what? It's bombing. The people are speaking, we the people. We'll talk about it when we bring in the Beard Vet segment. Stay awake, not woke. Loza Alexander on the way out. Go to mailmanmediamusic.com.
That's why gas too high. Can't fill up my tank. That's why gas too high. Can't fill up my. That's why gas too high. Baby gon' eat me.
Welcome back to This American Sunrise. Such refreshing talk there from Dr. McCullough. And you mentioned to me in the break how many people responded in our live chat and how they love to hear that. And one person, Kay Carpenter, I think?
Kay Carpenter, Spike support helped me, my sister, and my son with long COVID and sciatic pain after having COVID-19.
And there it is. So check them out, twc.health/RAV. You get an idea right there.
Yeah.
It's coming right from Dr. McCullough. Actually knows what he's talking about compared to a lot of these rent-a-quote TV doctors, quote unquote.
That's right.
So there you go. In the meantime, let's get to a segment we like to call Stay Awake, Not Woke. Yeah, this is simply the best coffee, no burnt soy and liberal tears like Starbucks. Just the blonde bomb. You've got the dress blues with a little hint of blueberry, which I like in the morning. This is the ground up stuff. I like the ground coffee and the automatic drip. They've got the grunt cups. If you've got the K-cup at home, you can get this on basically auto repeat and just keep getting it every single week, every single month. Great coffee and a great message from some great pictures.
Travel with it too.
You can travel with it. Sometimes they don't have the K-cup machine in my room, so I can't do it, even if Terrance says I should. I'd love to do it. Can't always travel with it, but you should have it in your home. Beard Vet, a great patriotic company. Use that promo code RAV and get 10% off. So they talk about stay awake, not woke. This came in from a viewer, one of our great friends, Lone Star Lady in the great state of Texas, Laughlin Air Force Base. This is Val Verde County, Texas, Karyn, hosting a gay pride parade to go through the housing where all the children and families are on the base there. Good Lord. Times have changed, she writes, from my days of living on the base. My father did not fight for this country for this. Spread awareness, the flyer says, to invite people. Awareness of what? Insanity. And she tagged Matt Gaetz, because remember, Gaetz got the military to say they were no longer going to do these kind
of things, right? Like the drag queens reading story hour.
First they said it wasn't happening and he was lying.
And then it was happening, and then they were found out.
Then they said we're going to stop.
But they didn't.
And now it's happening.
It's still happening.
So this was already planned for Gay Pride Month, so now they're just going to keep doing them and pretend that Congress has now not ordered, along with the Pentagon, to stop this nonsense. They're still doing it. And look, it's not like us just beating the drums. Our viewers, actual real American voices, are fed up.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, that photo earlier illustrates it, Tony Blinken. Nobody there. That's the weakness of this country. And this is on a military base, really?
Why?
Should we be celebrating our country?
A command came from the Pentagon, and they're not listening. And individuals are saying, let's do it. Disney, you know about their runaway agenda. Gateway Pundit has a story. They have a new ultra-woke kids movie, hadn't heard about it, featuring a non-binary character. Well, guess what, Karyn? It has bombed at the box office. And I think that's the most important point to make, that we the people are speaking.
And Carrie Lake's song is #1. Those two things together, that's the only poll you need.
I appreciate that, because you're right. And I think, again, it's not about us. It's not about the music. It's not about Carrie Lake. It's about we the people. We'll bring in Terrance on that point. So they want to introduce a non-binary character to kids. And it's like the Bud Light thing at the beginning. They said, oh, no, this is, conservatives don't have any buying power. This is not going to matter. And now Bud Light is reeling, and so's Disney.
Yeah, and I mean, we're continuing to see that when some of these companies go woke, they end up falling behind and falling asleep because customers are just turning their backs on them. And I'm not going to even lie. I don't even know what non-binary means.
I kind of agree. I mean, I've read about it, and I still don't know, and I kind of want to block it out. But if I had young children, I would find out, and I would say we're not. I would spend a lot more time on it. And my kids are older, and it's disgusting that Disney is shoving this down kids' throats. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's incredible. I don't know what I would do if I had little kids. I feel the same way. And I have grandkids, and I think, well, my kids have a lot to tackle right now.
They do.
Raising these babies in this environment where, it used to be a lot simpler than it is now. It's gotten very complicated. That's why you don't understand it, because it's super complicated.
Absolutely. Let's get some Get Her True Social.
Station wagons and cornbread, and now we have to deal with all this.
Back?
Cornbread. There you go. Let's get some Get Her True Social so we get some real American voices. Let's roll through them real quick, guys. This is the gay Republican. The people who defend behavior like this generally don't understand why they are called groomers. Let's just take that off the screen.
Yeah, I can't even see it.
It's outrageous, but there's a child in the photo. It's just disgusting what these folks do. And it's just promoted by companies like Disney, and it's disgusting.
And it's perpetuated on military bases all over the country, too?
It's absolutely
Isn't that
crazy.
insane?
It's absolutely crazy, guys. It's crazy. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up, we're going to dig deep on a lot of stories. John Durham is finally testifying tomorrow on Capitol Hill. We'll get a preview from our own John Solomon coming up. Carrie Lake on the way out. She's now made a 3rd Billboard chart. Download, stream, mailmanmediamusic.com.
I can't afford the groceries. I can't afford your gas. It's Biden inflation across the nation. 81 million votes my ass.
us, the big star, would be the real American voices.
Jesus!
All right, yes. Lost his line there.
That's okay.
A very big thank you to Ed Henry and Karyn Turk and Terrance Bates on America's Sunrise. Watch America's Sunrise.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to this Casting American Sunrise.
Live from West Palm Beach.
Love it. Love the energy.
How does this thing work, Sonny? It won't cast. Good morning, everyone. Live from our Denver, Colorado studios. So good to see each and every one of you. Ed, maybe this won't cast because this is not an iPhone. This is an Android, so maybe that's the problem.
Android can cast as well. I didn't mean to dismiss our wonderful Android users out there as well, even though when you send us videos, it comes across.
But if you're in a group chat with people that are on Androids and then you're trying to send videos and the videos come through small, I think we just all have to get on the same team. We have to come together. And I know a lot of people don't like iPhones and they don't like Apple, but we got to figure this out because it's a mess.
We need to come together. If we can't come together on this, how are we going to solve these other big problems?
How are we going to solve the world's problems? Go ahead.
Yeah, like Rose Alexander says, Joe did it. Gateway Pundit, let's lead this hour with this. What in the world is wrong with Joe? Have you noticed this? It's going on for a couple of days. Unsteady Biden, Karyn, is now again using the short staircase. In the back of the plane, there's a shorter staircase. They used to have the press walk. I've walked off there, but they don't want him walking the long one. So look at how he's struggling even on the short one. And people online are saying maybe he doesn't just need the short staircase, he needs a short bus.
I don't know. My dad had this thing called drop foot, and I've told you before, when I see him, I think about my father had this thing called drop foot, where he would drag his foot when he got older. And I think that's why he's unsteady, and whether it's related to Parkinson's or whatever other condition, we'll never know. But I'm glad they're at least making some attempt to keep the man safe, because they've never done anything like this before.
We don't want him to fall, but if you can't handle stairs, how are you going to handle China? I mean, let's just be obvious for a second here and say it, Terrance.
No, I think it's a valid point, and the man is 80 years old. You know, what do they say? Time is undefeated. Father Time is undefeated. And in this particular case, I think this is an example thereof. And it's not to be negative, but that's the reality of the situation. Time is taking its toll, it appears, on the president. And yeah, we're not doctors, but we're casual observers like most other people. And I think most reasonable Americans just look at his gait and look at other things happening and realize that he's not as spry as he once might have been.
Oh, yeah.
But, you think that you have a hand in not only choosing the president, but sort of being able to have a logical outcome when someone's president and they might be in a condition, let's say, where they might not be fit to serve. You would think that the American people would have some say over what's going on.
Didn't we have some say? 81 million votes? Is that what they say?
Well, we saw how that worked out, right?
That might be why a lot of actual patriots are downloading the song. And I'll tell you again, what a friend of mine called me last week, I can't believe the popularity of this, he said, and it shows him that real people don't believe the 81 million votes for Biden in 2020, even if Rhino Republicans don't have the guts to stand up on this and talk about it. We, the people, actually do want to talk about it. Real quick, sharp contrast to Biden struggling on the stairs. Donald Trump looking a lot more spry, even though he just had a birthday and is only a few years younger. And Karyn, we were outside the Miami courthouse.
We were.
When Donald Trump came in for the arraignment on the federal charges, we were on the opposite side of where his motorcade. So did you see when he actually walked into the courthouse?
I didn't. I heard about it, though, and it seemed like a lot of people
video
were watching.
Now.
Okay.
So here, we're going to break this right now. Donald Trump walking into the courthouse. And I think he looks much stronger.
Oh, yeah. Look at his hair. His hair looks great.
Yeah, and he's ready for battle. And I've seen this come out, Terrance. And this is not a man struggling to walk down the stairs of Air Force One. This is a man ready to go.
You know, are we talking about the man or the mane? I think it's the man.
You know what? You're such a wordsmith. I absolutely love that. In contrast, did you, in all seriousness, this is real, see the latest pitch from Biden and the word salad vice president? Look at this.
I saw this.
She's like the duo that gets the job done, Karyn.
What is going on? Sometimes I see these things and I feel like they're like a skit, like a comedy skit.
Right,
But then I remember it's the White House.
We went from a comedy, and then you're like, is that comedy too,
Yeah.
Terrance? And let me fish forward to this to get your reaction, because I kind of picked this one for Karyn. This is Biden's new CDC director, Karyn. You love when you see it. Her name is Dr. Mandy Cohen, and guess what? A Fauci mask is what she was featured in.
I mean, wow. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at least you can tell exactly where she stands on everything by taking one quick look at her.
Exactly. And Terrance, you've got a home in North Carolina. She has been North Carolina's health director. And here's some video of her laughing about how she and other so-called experts came up with COVID restrictions in North Carolina. Watch.
So I would call, probably the person I called most was the Secretary of Health and Human Services in Massachusetts. She worked for a Republican governor just to, but you know, when she was like, "Are you going to let them have professional football?" And I was like, "Nope." And she's like, "Okay, neither are we." You know, it was like conversations like that. So, or I'd be like, "So when are you going to think about lightening up a mess?" They're like, "Next Monday." I'm like, "Okay, next Monday."
It's sick. It's like, the Carolina Panthers, we get to decide. I get to decide whether the Panthers get to play football. Right. This is sick. And these were the people who were making the decisions. And what's crazy is that might have been in the past. You say, okay, mistakes were made. But now they want to elevate these same people to stronger, more powerful positions, Terrance.
And the first warning sign that she's probably not prepared for this sort of position is the fact that she Valley Girl liked. I counted at least 6 likes in that whole explanation. Like at that point in time, if like is your crutch to me, you should probably work on being able to verbalize yourself, particularly when you're in that sort of position, when you need to be clear about whatever the message is that you're trying to convey to the public.
Yeah, well, again, at least you can spot her in a crowd. You can see her coming with the Fauci mask on.
By the
That's
way,
the only positive I got. You know what the agenda is.
That mask, the fact that the Fauci was right over her mouth, does that mean she is now a Fauci mouthpiece?
Yeah.
Very nice. I think you
I'm
nailed
on a
it.
roll.
Absolutely.
Tip your waiters and waitresses, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, Terrance Bates in the house.
In the house. And that leads us perfectly to Down the Rabbit Hole with Karyn. So, Karyn, there's a woman who apparently glued her eyes shut with super glue in what is being called a huge mix-up. At least the left eye looks glued. Was this an eyelash mishap? This is not an eyelash mishap because you wouldn't use super glue. This is like she had her nail glue in a drawer where she normally keeps her eye drops. What? Grabbed it, but I have some issues. Like I want to know more. Like, were you drinking wine at the time that this happened? Probably. There had to be something that led to this mix-up where what was that?
Terrance,
is that a Denver special?
Exactly. Right?
You do that so easily.
I agree with that. I agree. And again, glad you went there, not me. I went with wine, and then you took it to another level. So you always say I take it to the next level.
You usually do.
I'm now putting Terrance in the position where he's taking it to the next level.
Terrance, what do you think?
This is so weird. I don't see how that kind of mix-up can happen, particularly with your eyes. I mean, most people are very sensitive and very particular what they put in their eyes. So I would think that before you put anything in your eye, you kind of look at the bottle, make sure that it's what you thought it's going to be. That you get glue, that you mix up glue. That it doesn't make sense to me. There's more to that, and there may have been some extenuating circumstances or elements at play.
So you think it might have been like a wake and bake situation?
Oh boy, here we go. There are people in the chat who talk about that, and I don't even know what that phrase means. Why don't we push forward all together?
Please, come on.
Well, I might have heard of it, but I don't partake in that.
I think it was pretty clean.
It was. Let's bring in our friend John Solomon instead of hitting headlines. John's waiting patiently. There's a lot of big news breaking out of Washington. He's going to join all of us. John, why don't you come on in? Good morning. How you doing, sir? Welcome back.
Good morning.
Hey, John.
Good morning. I was enjoying the rabbit hole. I was actually smiling. That was fun.
Well, we're going to have you do. Why don't you text me ahead of next week and pick a topic and do a rabbit hole with Karyn, and maybe I'll give it to her. The topic of your idea, your thought, and then each of you will figure out who can get more down the rabbit hole, more details. All right, that'll be fun.
I like it.
It'll be like a head-to-head competition, like you did the pitch clock. This will be something
the
new.
pitch clock, got 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So let's get serious about some big news. You can take it any direction. I see two big stories that the mainstream media is not talking about. Give us a little preview that tomorrow, John Durham, as I understand, is going live in our 9 a.m. Eastern hour. We'll get into that, no doubt. John Durham finally testifying about Russiagate and all the lies from the FBI and the CIA and the rest of them. And then last hour we teed up that the man you've been following closely and you've been breaking a lot of news, James Comer, the Republican oversight chairman, is saying he's digging deeper on the Biden family ties. Again, the money pouring in. Ted Cruz says there's $10 million in Biden's tax return from like 2017 that nobody's connected the dots on what that money really is. And the mainstream media is not talking about Durham. They're not talking about Comer. What are your thoughts this morning?
Yeah, listen, the blackout that has been there ever since Russia collusion went in reversal, and they didn't want to admit they were wrong, and that has just continued. They protected Joe Biden on many of the bombshell revelations that James Comer has. And keep in mind, James Comer's not making allegations. He's actually delivering evidence and documents and facts and bank records, and still the majority of the mainstream media is ignoring it. Same thing with John Durham. Today he'll be behind closed doors with the House Intelligence Committee. Tomorrow he'll be in public for the first time. Most Americans will get to see him in action for the very first time 4 years after he began his probe, and he'll be testifying in public, as you said, before House Judiciary. Here's another story that the mainstream media, the traditional media can't and aren't covering, and that is that despite 2 indictments, Donald Trump is rising in the polls. He has a larger lead over Ron DeSantis than ever before, and he's now up 6 points on Joe Biden in a general election head-to-head, something the media just doesn't want to admit. But they helped create this dynamic. The media's coverage of all these fake scandals have sort of created a sympathy for Trump, and their failure to report on the failures of the Biden administration has people pining for the days when Donald Trump had things under control in America. So that dynamic's another one just completely blacked out in the news media, but it's very real. Donald Trump is rising and becoming a very strong candidate, not only in the primaries, he's now significantly ahead in the Harvard-Harris poll, which is very accurate, by the way. Mark Penn, former Clinton pollster, runs that poll. That is a big story that no one in the mainstream media really wants to acknowledge or address.
You talk about the blackout, and then you talk about these media narratives that they craft, these events that they create, whether it be the raid, on Mar-a-Lago, the raid on Roger Stone, all of these things that they've crafted directly for CNN and other outlets.
Can I ask you real quick, who approved that raid of Mar-a-Lago? Do you know that, Judge?
I do know Magistrate Reinhardt. We've met intimately.
Interesting.
Yes.
I want to mention that for everyone. Well, she means in a legal sense, I believe.
Sense,
I don't know all that.
Very close.
She means that they had an argument legally, not intimately. In any event, let me push forward and put up this tweet from Travis, who likes to hold feet to the fire in the Biden administration. A federal judge, yes, Bruce Reinhardt, has now ordered Donald Trump and his lawyers not to share any details of this document case with anyone, including social media and the news. Reinhardt issued an order muzzling the former president and his team from speaking about any details in the case. I want to push it forward by asking, what's Reinhardt up to? Is this election interference? The man's running for president, wants to defend himself in public, did that Fox interview yesterday. But also, I hear from Kash Patel and others that they may be trying to muzzle Trump because you know better than anyone some of these documents he had.
You think they're trying to muzzle Trump? What do you think they got on these federal judges and these magistrates? Come on.
But Trump had documents on Russiagate that he declassified that exposed the lies from the deep state. React to this effort to muzzle him, sir.
Yeah, listen, we've seen this already in New York a couple of months ago and now in the case. It's not uncommon when you have a high-profile case for a judge to put some form of a muzzle. The muzzle is limited to documents that are going to be turned over to the president and his lawyers as part of discovery, but there's nothing that prevents the president, like he did again last night, addressing his innocence and trying to show with the evidence he already knows publicly himself that he believes he's innocent. And he did this last night. He addressed the alleged Iran document that's on this tape recording. He said, I didn't show him the document. I didn't produce the document. There wasn't that document. So he is defending himself in that way. It's just that there will be things turned over in a classified setting during the discovery process. It's not uncommon in high-profile cases for a judge to put some restrictive order. Here's the real question. The first time the Justice Department leaks again, because they've been leaking in this case all along, will he set the same standard for the Justice Department? Will he admonish them? We'll have to wait and see. Now, there's some breaking news on the Trump indictment. Just a few minutes ago, it was announced in a court filing that the case will be moved to Fort Pierce, Florida, in Central Florida on the Space Coast. That's very favorable red territory for President Trump. And the next big hearing will be in mid-August. So that case has now been moved in venue. And also, we have a new court date. That'll be the next time that Donald Trump can talk about evidence he's getting in discovery. He'll be able to use that in the courtroom, in court filings, and in the court proceeding. And that's a way that oftentimes defendants get around this gag order. You're not prohibited from mentioning these things in court filings. So court filings will be another place where Donald Trump can tell his story very affirmatively and for the American public to see it.
And John, to your point about some of these new developments, there's also new reporting that I've seen this morning saying that the trial itself likely will be pushed back to 2025, which seems like it would be favorable because there's a possibility that then President Trump would be reelected by that time and be tried while he's in office. What are you hearing?
Well, there's another possibility, which is the Justice Department could ultimately decide that they want to drop the charges, which often happens in a transition between administrations. I think a lot of people feel there are enormous constitutional issues here. Almost every legal expert we brought on our show, Just the News, No Noise, every night at 6 o'clock on Monday through Friday here on Real America's Voice, every one of them has said, listen, there are so many constitutional and appellate issues, and this is going to go back and forth to the appeals court, Supreme Court. They would be surprised if this got to trial by spring of 2025 at the earliest. There are just some huge issues, including that very big ruling. Again, another thing that the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about, but Tom Fitton talks about it, the famous Bill Clinton socks drawer case from 2012 or 2013, where the current judicial philosophy on presidents is that they can decide whatever documents they want to be their personal documents under the Presidential Records Act, and courts should not have a say. If that turns out to be true, and that sentiment prevails, Donald Trump has a whole large defense that most of the mainstream media aren't even talking about right now. But those are the sort of issues that are going to tie this up for well over a year. I think 2025 is the year that most legal experts think is the earliest that a case could begin.
Wow.
Trial could begin.
I want somebody to break down the cost to the American taxpayer for the persecution of Donald Trump. I want to know what that number is.
What was it, 30, 40 million at least with Mueller?
Yeah, this is going to be an incredible piece of historical data, and also just would illustrate the impact that it has on every single voter in this country.
Yeah, John, react to that, but I want to add one thing. I was watching the live chat on Getter during your last answer, and some people are saying, do you know more about the venue change to Fort Pierce? To more central Florida, because some people are saying, wait a second, there was a Trump-nominated judge who was going to oversee the case in Miami to the south. Yeah. Are they trying to get it might be a favorable jury pool in Fort Pierce, as you said, for Donald Trump, but are they trying to get this to a liberal judge or maybe a less Trump-friendly judge? Your thoughts?
We don't know yet. Right now, Eileen Cannon still shows as the judge of record, even in this order this morning. So it's because Fort Pierce is in the Southern District of Florida. It still allows the judges in that district to preside. It could have to do with security reasons. Obviously Miami is a very difficult courthouse to defend where it is in the city. So it could be for security purposes. We don't know yet all of the details. It's a very short order, but we're digging in and we're going to get to the bottom of it in the next few hours. Just keep an eye on Just the News, and of course, Real America's Voice will bring you the latest when we can sort through those. Those are all the right questions to be asking, and we got really smart Getter users.
Yeah, and what
right on the money as always.
Absolutely. And Karyn's point about the cost. I mean, I remember the Mueller investigation being, about $40 million and counting. When you look at all these various investigations, we were at the courthouse in Miami. You talk about security and everything else that's going on, all about the persecution of Donald Trump. Your last thought.
Yeah, listen, a lot of people I've talked to, when you add up the congressional investigations and the Justice Department investigations and the FBI, they think the Get Trump bill, the taxpayers, is well over $100 million already. We are putting together the best estimates. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't broken down by case, but it's going to exceed $100 million, certainly by 2025. And that's a cost that is, for the most part, preventable. Certainly, the whole Russia collusion case never was. And that's one of the things you're going to hear from John Durham. There never was any evidence when they started it, when they ended it, or any time in between to justify that investigation.
We'll see John Durham under oath tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern during our program. We'll be dipping in live, of course. John Solomon tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern with Amanda Head. Thank you, sir. We'll take a quick break. We got Stephen Moore coming up as we try to drain the swamp. We head into the opening bell and the economic news, sponsored by AMAC. There he is. Good morning, Stephen. We'll see him in a minute.
Slide with that. This election interference ain't no time for that. Joe Biden, you should be the one locked up in jail. Second term for the left, ain't no way in the hell.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to that show right there, American Sunrise, streaming, casting, everywhere.
Live.
Nice. I want to briefly mention our live channel getter. There's so many people there. Joy Rocks and Dr. Joe have been watching the show from day one, basically, and they both do a lot to help veterans,
very supportive,
as you know. And Dr. Joe's had some health issues, and I just asked Joy, because she sometimes sends some notes, said Dr. Joe's in physical rehab and progressing forward every day, and she added a little hug and a kiss to, I believe, everybody in the audience, so we appreciate that. Please keep us updated. We appreciate all the Patriots out there.
Sure do.
Let's get to a segment we like to call It's Time to Drain the Swamp. Yeah, go to seabud.com. That's the sponsor. RAV1776, 15% off. Brand new t-shirt. Not just Trader Joe's, Trader with a T. But look at this one, going after the rhinos. We put that up. Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Rad.
that's a new one.
Yeah, do you see that, though? How it talks about how rhinos are traitors. There are a lot of people not so happy with those rhinos who don't stand up for the America First policies. SeaMud.com's got that brand new T-shirts. They've got an 81 million votes one for Kari Lake. Go there, sponsor this great patriotic company, which, by the way, is in California, but is about to get out because of the regulations and taxes. And they're going to move to the free state of Tennessee.
I love it. Those T-shirts are super, super soft.
They absolutely are. Let's put this up on the screen real quick. When you talk about swamp, the swamp loves not doing anything about the southern border. And guess what? We've talked about no border states, not just Arizona and Texas. Karyn, Illinois now struggling with the ballooning cost of health care, not for people who are American citizens, illegal immigrants. So the Democrat governor, Pritzker, set aside $220 million for this program to expand Medicaid, which goes to poor people in the states, but not for American citizens, for illegal immigrants. So his estimate is $220 million. 3 months later, Karyn, the cost estimates are now $1 billion.
Wow.
What does that tell you about how many illegal immigrants are in Illinois?
What does that tell you about inflation, too? Just everything.
Out of control. Let's bring in our friend Stephen Moore. Nobody knows more about the economy. I think he forgets more about the economy than either of us know. And there he is inside the swamp as we try to drain it. Stephen, good morning.
Good morning, Ed. Good morning, Karyn.
Good morning.
What in the world's going on here? We know the problem, but these Democrat governors, they've got sanctuary cities, sanctuary states for illegal immigrants. And then, Pritzker comes out and says, well, this is only going to cost $220 million, which is still a lot of money. But after 3 months, the estimate's now $1 billion. So if you're in Illinois paying high tax rates, the technical term is you're screwed. They're just taking your money and they're giving it to illegal immigrants.
Well, geez, Ed, are you saying that the Democrats are lying about the numbers? I mean, Joe Biden would never do that, right? He said the inflation reduction reduce the deficit, and every day that goes by, we find that these green energy, Green New Deal programs are more expensive. There's a reason why blue states in America are the states that are losing jobs, losing people, losing income, losing businesses, and are running massive budget deficits, and it's because of their progressive left-wing policies. And Illinois, you guys know I'm from the Chicago area. The decline of the state of Illinois, and especially the city of Chicago, is heartbreaking to me. But it's not some kind of, it's basically a result of policies by Democratic governors who've made the state unlivable. And so you can tell that story about New York. You can tell that story about Connecticut. By the way, California is a good, you might have seen that Gavin Newsom is making some news, the governor there in California, about running for president. He's got a little bit of a problem. I mean, I know he's got good hair, Karyn, but you look at the record there in California. California has lost 3 million people in the last 15 years to other states because of the people are just finally fed up with these liberal progressive policies.
Yeah.
We came into this talking about Sea of Mud, our great patriotic sponsor, and he's in California, and he's now leaving. He's exiting like so many other businesses. So as you're saying this, I'm thinking, we were talking about this just a moment ago.
You know where those businesses are going, right? To Florida.
Yeah,
and
that's why
I love the editorial in the Wall Street Journal the other day. I was thinking about you guys because, I love Trump, but it would be interesting to have a Ron DeSantis versus Gavin Newsom runoff, for presidency. The Florida economic model where you've got growth, you've got open businesses, you've got freedom, and then California where everything's falling apart. Let's let Americans decide which way they want the country to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've obviously Donald J. Trump, as you know, is a Florida resident as well. So you could probably talk about the Florida model. I would argue Donald Trump, thanks in part to your help, could talk about the Trump model for the whole country, not the state of Florida, and say, you know what, I've already done this, Stephen Moore. I've done this to the American people, and that's why Donald Trump is making that case. What do you make of what John Solomon was talking about a moment ago? There's this conventional wisdom in the mainstream media that Trump, because of the indictments and other factors, is pulling away. People rally behind him, and he can win the nomination, but can't win the general election, they say. But this Harvard-Harris poll by Mark Penn, a Democrat, a Clinton pollster back in the day, known him a long time, very honest man, and it shows Trump 5-6 points ahead of Biden. It's early in a general election matchup, and largely it's because people are fed up with the economy and inflation. Your last thought.
I don't think I'm going to give you a little headline here. I do not believe Ed and Karyn, that Joe Biden will be the Democratic nominee for president in 2024. I think that is, his numbers are so bad. He's having a hard time getting out intelligible sentences right now.
Yeah.
And so I think they are looking for somebody new, maybe like a Gavin Newsom. But look, Donald Trump, and by the way, I'm neutral in this race. I want to see all the Republicans. We've got a great field of candidates. I want to see how they perform. But I will tell you this, having worked on the 2016 campaign, what did they say? Donald Trump's chances of being elected are 1 in 100. Remember that? 1 in 100 chance that Donald Trump will be president. They said the day before the election it was a 90% chance that Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president. And who won the election? So my point is, everybody always underestimates Donald Trump, just like they always underestimated Ronald Reagan, the other president I've been privileged to work for. That's a similarity between Reagan and Trump. Their political opponents always underestimated them.
Yep.
So many similarities there.
There you go.
So many.
And on the economy as well, in terms of cutting
By
taxes.
the way, one quick thing, I know we're running out of time. One of your regular viewers was emailed me yesterday and said, don't call it drain the swamp, call it drain the sewer, because Washington is a sewer, not a swamp. So.
All right, we might have to, Donald Trump called it the swamp, but maybe we can adjust it. It's sort of both. And I appreciate that our viewers out there.
Maybe this sewer's 2024.
Yeah, the sewer, we can switch it.
Version.
And look, people are responding to your segment and the show, and now you know how many viewers we really have out there. We're privileged to have you just about every week, Stephen. Have a great day. All right, we'll see him in Florida soon, I hope. Let's bring in our friend, the Money Man, after we talk about the economic news sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
And there we are. The bell's already rung. The markets are open. The Dow is down about 200 points. S&P down about 20. NASDAQ down 30 points or so. So a down day after it was off for Juneteenth yesterday. Markets back open, starting in the red. Terrance, good morning again.
Ed and Karyn, good morning. Ed, you famously deliver, but Amazon also known for delivering just about anything that you want. However, the tech retailer is not delivering on its promises that set off a bidding war for Amazon's HQ2. Nearly 240 cities bid to be home of Amazon's second headquarters, and ultimately, Arlington, Virginia and suburban Washington, D.C. won. The facility opened last week, but Amazon didn't deliver on its original vision of a $5 billion complex with 50,000 employees. Instead, the newly opened HQ2 will only have about 8,000 employees by this fall. Plus, Amazon is delaying a second phase of the project as part of company-wide cost cutting. The company says it is still committed to employing 25,000 people, though, and spending some $2.5 billion on the site, which once again is about half the original plan. All right, folks, if you think you don't need emergency food, you may want to think again. The government recently revealed the truth about the coming food shortages. According to the USDA, fully 1/3 of America's annually planted crops will not be harvested this season. Severe droughts and fertilizer shortages wipe them out. And that means food is going to get scarce and expensive. So, is your family prepared for that? If not, now is the time to stock up on emergency food from My Patriot Supply, and you can do so at discount prices. All you have to do is go to preparewithrav.com and you'll save big on each 4-week emergency food kit you need for your family. That's preparewithrav.com. You'll get breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks that will keep everyone going strong. And best of all, the food is delicious. Your entire family will love it, they promise. Act now and save big on each 4-week kit that you need. Go to preparewithrav.com and get free shipping as well. What could be easier? Listen, you'll never forgive yourself if you let your family suffer. So go to preparewithrav.com and get your free kit. And Ed and Karyn, I must say, the folks over there sent me a package with several items that I'm trying. One of them is a big bag of oatmeal. It's a maple oatmeal, so I'm looking forward to taking that. And there were some other chicken dishes in there. I have to say, I thought that it was going to be a little easier to make, that you just kind of put some hot water in there, mix it up, and it would be a meal, but it's a little bit more involved. I think I might end up having to Google it because there are the instructions on the back, and I still didn't fully understand.
So is it freeze-dried, or what? What is your sense? How is it preserved?
Yeah, I'm thinking it must be freeze-dried, and there's some sort of oxygen container that they say you have to pull out. And so at that point, when I was reading the instructions, I was like, I have to pull out the container. I was like, I need to Google this to make sure I do this right and don't ruin it. But I will try and report back.
Okay, yeah, we need a follow-up on this for sure. I'm sure it's going to be great. Maybe they can send you a little YouTube video on how to do it.
We'll send you, we'll help you along.
Or a Rumble video.
A Rumble. Rumble's where we go now. By the way, Rumble just announced that they've signed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to talk about vaccines and whatever else he wants to talk about on the free speech platform of Rumble because YouTube's trying to stop him. Interesting. We'll talk about that. We'll also check in with Joe Weber for a 60-second sunrise in Washington, get some scoops there. And then we'll go to the Heartland, a real American voice, David Carroll, Red State Barbecue. Yeah, get those horns out of your head. You're good. Yeah, there's the barbecue horns.
There you go.
If you would have told me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I would be in the middle of a political movement, I would have said, put down Hunter's crack pipe.
Very interesting because 81 million votes starts with Hunter's crack pipe. And here we are. Breaking news this morning. Just broke. Hunter Biden now facing 3 new federal criminal charges, including tax crimes, Karyn. I'm reading from the New York Post. Others are reporting it as well. I know you just saw that as well. Jump in as you want. Lying on a federal gun purchase form, which I was talking about yesterday when we talked about guns, that he lied on a federal gun purchase form about his drug addiction because he could not have legally gotten a gun. So they talk about gun control. Meanwhile, he broke the law, allegedly. NBC News broke this. It's a 5-year-long investigation into the 53-year-old first son, focused on his money, his business dealings. This has been a holdover. Remember David Weiss, who was a holdover from the Trump administration. Weiss was close to making a charging decision. It was reported last month. John Solomon was reporting that. And then it was stalled again at the Justice Department. But the breaking news is 3 new federal charges, a gun charge, and some kind of tax crimes, because Solomon has previously reported, right, that he didn't maybe disclose all the income from the the business deals. But what are you seeing?
Yeah, the Washington Post is showing that he's actually reached a deal to plead guilty in the tax case, and that there would be 2 years probation and a diversion program. So they're already speculating how that's going to go.
You know, Donald Trump posted this photo on Truth Social yesterday of Lisa Monaco, who I think is number 2 or 3, I think number 2 at the Justice Department, talking to Joe Biden. Someone snapped a photo of Joe Biden and Monaco from the Justice Department speaking privately on the White House grounds. So were they, Donald Trump was speculating they were talking about the Trump investigation, which they could have been, but were they also giving him, the big guy, a little heads up, hey, there's going to be a little plea deal?
Well, they're giving him a plea deal for sure, and it looks like he's going to get a plea deal. He's going to be a misdemeanor on the tax charges. But then they're talking about a federal diversion program, which I don't think they offer. Exactly? That means they charge you with a felony, and if it's your first felony, they give you a certain amount of time in this diversion program, and then the felony is no longer a felony. I don't know if it becomes a misdemeanor or how that all works.
Isn't that interesting?
There is a program that they offer through the Justice Department in certain cases.
Here's ABC video, I believe. Is there a soundbite, or is it just video? Okay, so this is some video of Hunter Biden, just stock video.
So
the reason I chuckled is you're saying that this would take a felony and sort of make it go away for a first-time offender. I'm chuckling because 2 tiers of justice. Didn't Alvin Bragg in New York take a misdemeanor and turn it into a felony? So it's like the opposite of this diversion program.
Exactly.
It's like an inversion program. Donald Trump, let's take a misdemeanor and turn it into a felony, which maybe it'll fall apart. But isn't that amazing?
It is. But that's, it's expected. But this is interesting. There's going to be a lot to that, and it looks like there's several different charges and this plea deal, which seems to be structured in a way that it has this this diversion program and also a misdemeanor for a tax crime, and that he is expected to plead guilty and that he may appear in court to do that. They don't know what day.
Okay.
But the actual plea has been approved by a federal judge, according to the Washington Post.
Yeah, with the help of the Biden Justice Department, maybe?
Amazing.
So, and specifically, Breitbart is reporting, consistent with Karyn said, 1 gun charge, as we mentioned, and 2 tax counts. But how many Americans who get caught cheating on their taxes would get slap on the wrist, first-time offender, you're all good? These 87,000 IRS agents banging on your door. You think they'd let an America First person go like that?
No, absolutely not. I mean, this seems like a pretty sweet deal. This is according to what I'm reading here. It looks like it's a pretty cushy deal for Hunter Biden.
Absolutely. All right. Why don't we bring in our friend Joe Weber without the 60-second sunrise? Joe, are you there live in Washington? I want to get some live reaction from you. If you get a chance to message, Joe Weber, with your team there in Washington. We just talked to John Solomon a few minutes ago before this flash. What's your immediate reaction? On one hand, at least they finally have done something with Hunter Biden. But my immediate reaction, as I think Karyn's may be, is that it's sounding like a slap on the wrist, and let's try to get this out of the way. What are your thoughts? What are you hearing?
Well, quite honestly, my immediate reaction is I'm not really surprised at the way this has gone down. We knew about the gun charge. Evidently, it was linked to the idea where he didn't disclose the fact that he had a drug problem when he got discharged from the Navy for that. So not surprised there. What I do find maybe even more surprising is the fact that with the deal with the tax charges, I'm not a lawyer, I'm certainly not a judge, but what was it, almost nearly $4 million? That's quite a bit of money. It wasn't as if maybe he did a couple $1,000 there. That's a huge amount of money over a large amount of time. And that's what surprises me, if the reporting is accurate, which I believe it does. That seems to your point, to be a pretty light sentence for a pretty large amount of money that you owe to some people for a pretty long time there.
Big deal.
It's a really big deal.
All right, we're going to stay on top of this. Joe, can you dig around a little bit there and talk to John? We're going to do the 2024 Saucy segment, and maybe we can get you on the other side to see what you can find out, because this is a big breaking story. I appreciate you jumping on it right now. We'll get back to you in a couple minutes, either after the next break or after this segment. Let's get to a segment we call 2024 is Getting Saucy. Yeah, this is simply the best barbecue sauce. We're talking about it all the time. Sponsored by Red State Barbecue. Go to redstatebbq.com and use that promo code RAV10 for 10% off. Let's bring in our friend, David Carroll, who obviously is the man who runs Red State Barbecue. We might have to make this a little briefer, my friend, because of this breaking news. We want to juggle all that. But David, you're a real American voice, and we're going to want to get your perspective, not just what legal experts are saying. David, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing great. We wanted to talk to you about 4th of July coming up and why people can support a great patriotic company like yours, and we'll do that in a minute. But as a real American voice, you've been on before talking about the state of this country. You hear about two big breaking stories this morning. First, we heard that Donald Trump's the criminal charges against him, they're now being moved, the venue's being moved from Miami to Fort Pierce. They're still pushing forward on trying to get a trial as soon as possible. That might be delayed to 2025. Maybe he gets a more favorable jury pool in a red county near the Space Coast here in Florida. But he's facing one charge after another, and then it breaks moments later that Hunter Biden is not going to trial. He's going to plead guilty and maybe get a slap on the wrist. And a lot of Americans say, man, this is two tiers of justice.
Oh, absolutely. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, if anybody else, had falsified their records for, the guns and stuff like that and disposing of them improperly and all the stuff that's happened with Hunter Biden, it's just absolutely ridiculous that he's going to be able to get away with this stuff with a slap on the wrist.
Absolutely. I'm trying to find, Terrance has just sent me real quick here a document, Department of Justice. Yeah. Do you want to look through that one? Okay. And where it's laying it out. So we're going to report on that while we talk to you as well. Real quick, let's get in here. I want to let's skip that video, guys, because instead of doing the funny, there's that post. Yeah, good job. The cost of a 4th of July cookout. So this was 2021 when the White House, because it's they're dealing with these criminal charges against Hunter Biden, investigations of the Biden family, and they're dealing with an uncertain economy that you know all about. And in 2021, they were mocked because they said basically you might save like 2 pennies on the lemonade and a penny on the hot dog, and that you would save 16 cents on 4th of July 2021 compared to 2020, and they were mocked and mocked and mocked. And then inflation has only brought it up higher. As we head into 4th of July, what's the real economy like as a small business owner, as a real American voice, as people get ready for the beach and the picnic and all of that? It's pretty tough out there, it seems like.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's expensive. And, we've talked about this before. We had managed to not raise our prices for over 2 years. And finally, I got to the point where I had no choice. And so we just incrementally raised some prices on some entrees here in the last 2 weeks. But just in general, it's talking to my staff, talking to my wife, and I've heard you and Karyn talk about it. You go to the grocery store and you buy 10 things, it's $200, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. And the thing is, what really makes me mad is that this absolutely did not have to happen. This was completely avoidable. And so now we're dealing with this situation, and unfortunately, I don't see an end in sight anytime soon. So hopefully it will start to change and go back the other direction. But it's going to be a little bit longer before that's going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Real quick, people go to redstatebarbecue.com. They'll see all kinds of merch. The barbecue sauce we talk about all the time. I like the Texas spicy Tex, and the Taproom Fire, which is particularly nuclear. Real quick, give us the pitch in terms of what these great patriots will find.
Oh, well, the great thing about our sauces, we've got so many very flexible. You can use them in a lot of different ways. So whether it's beef, chicken, brisket, your hamburgers, you can make use of them in some way, some form or fashion. Of course, also one thing I do want to say, Ed and Karyn, we started this venture with Rav and American Sunrise to push the sauces. But what's been great about it is that the Rav family has been coming through our doors, and they've been telling my counter people that they've seen us on the show and everything. So it's been really great. We appreciate that.
We appreciate
awesome
you.
news.
You were there at the beginning of the show as we put some sponsors together. We're always grateful to you for that, and we're grateful for the Real American Voices who go and check out the food. It's not just about pushing a sponsorship. It's about all these great patriots coming together. You're one of those. David Carroll, thank you. We'll try to check back with you before the 4th of July. I know I can see that John Solomon's getting ready. Is Terrance out there? Terrance sent that document. Let's talk for a minute, maybe go over this break. What did you see, Karyn, from what Terrance said?
So what's interesting is the tax charges are going to be the misdemeanors. The gun count that he's facing is going to be dismissed under this pretrial diversion program.
Hunter Biden, I should
So
say.
that is a felony, but they will dismiss the felony if he's 2 years drug-free in this pretrial diversion, which is probably the main reason that he's taken this guilty plea.
Right.
Is because this is a pretty
So no
sweet
jail
deal.
time, presumably.
No jail time. It looks like 2 years of probation in which he has to remain drug-free.
Terrance, real quick thought. We'll hit a break, and we're going to get John Solomon on the other side. Go ahead, sir.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just interesting to see kind of all of this develop. Let's take this break. We'll bring John back in so we can talk more about this because this is expansive.
All right, we're going to hit that break. As we said, we'll spill some tea. Political gossip will be about Hunter Biden, not what we originally scripted. Loza Alexander on the way out. Who did this to the country? Joe did it.
That's why gas too high. Can't fill up my. That's why gas too high.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to this American Sunrise, streaming everywhere all around the world and casted to an old television box just like that.
There you go, just like that.
That is what the kids say. Did you say, what was the other phrase you say the kids say now?
I don't know what I said
now. You were
earlier.
saying it before.
Good.
Well, think about it. But you know what? It's time to spill some tea, and we got some good tea today. It's about Hunter Biden. Watch. This is simply the best tea, Artillery Tea Co. Check them out online. Use that promo code RAV for 10% off. It is outstanding tea. It's a patriotic company that gives back some of its profits to first responders, to military charities. That's why they're a partner with us. But today with the breaking news, We want to turn from there to simply not just the best tea, but the best political and investigative reporter anybody has, not just that Rav has, and that's John Solomon. He's going to be here with Terrance. John, we saw you at the top of the hour. You had some breaking news about Donald Trump's side, and all I can think is Donald Trump, they're going to move the venue, but they still got 37 counts, and there's more indictments maybe coming, and it just keeps going and going. And then the breaking news, and we'll put up his picture. Hunter Biden, finally, you've been talking about this for months and months. Finally, there are criminal charges, but it's feeling to me like a slap on the wrist. He's going to plead guilty, move on, no prison time. Your immediate reaction, and we'll all jump in.
Listen, I think when people fully understand what we're about to learn in the next few weeks, people will see this as an unbelievable slap on the wrist. Here's why. Obviously, he's going to plead to 2 tax misdemeanors, saying he didn't pay his taxes in 2017 and 2018. But that doesn't include the lion's share of the money that Hunter Biden has already repaid and admitted he was behind on. Those payments go all the way back and cover taxes that weren't paid all the way back to 2014 in Ukraine and Burisma. What you're going to learn in the next few weeks in the IRS whistleblower's testimony is made public by House Ways and Means Committee that the Justice Department allowed the statute of limitations to expire on the more serious felony tax charges, giving Hunter Biden a great break. You're also going to probably hear from the IRS agent in his testimony that documents on Hunter Biden's laptop that showed the evasion going back to 2014 were never given to the IRS team. Those are the sort of blockbuster things that we're about to just break when the Justice Department hurried up this plea deal. So there's going to be a lot of news that's going to make this deal look a lot sweeter in the next couple of weeks.
Smells like a
It
cover-up.
already does. I started going down the rabbit hole in this, and this is actually like gun trafficking, what they're charging him with, and this is a serious felony. Normally would carry a mandatory minimum of 5 years. If the gun's used in a crime, it could be a 25-year mandatory minimum. So you're talking about them giving him this felony diversion program on this particular charge outside of the tax issues, and the tax code says it's willful failure to file taxes. So he was aware that he wasn't filing. Crazy.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
It is. Listen, that's what the laptop showed. The laptop showed Hunter Biden knew that he wasn't paying his taxes, and he just didn't seem to care at the time, or couldn't pay them. I'm not sure which, but you're right. These are serious charges that are going to result in almost no consequence for Hunter Biden. But let's think about this. For 3 years, Joe Biden's looked in the camera, said, "My son did nothing wrong." We now know that his son did do something wrong because he plans to plead guilty to the 2 tax felony charges and to enter a felony diversion program that will prevent him from cheating or paying the crime for his tax or his gun problems. His gun problem is he claimed on his on his gun application that he wasn't using illegal drugs. We know that not to be the case. He admitted widely that he was a drug user during that time frame. So Democrats make a big deal about tax evasion and how they want to weapon or strengthen the IRS. Well, they don't care too much about it when it comes to Hunter Biden evading taxes, and they don't seem to be too concerned about the guns either, because he's going to get a sweet deal on that.
I want to get Terrance in for the last thought, but if a Trump supporter lied on a gun form, boy, the ATF and the IRS would be there immediately. Terrance?
John, to your point about the gun charge, it looks like the original charges in the original plea agreement had to do with the tax charges, and then the gun charge, which is here, the more serious, now the felony, was just kind of thrown in there with this pretrial diversion. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So he's charged with all 3, right? But the felony gun charge will go away if he completes probation, stays off drugs, doesn't do anything illegal in the next 2 years. He will appear in court sometime in the near future, probably not today is what I'm being told by Justice Department officials. But it's a really great deal for him. It's a sweetheart deal. I think a lot of Republicans will call it that. What we're going to learn in the next few weeks is that his behavior was a lot more egregious than what is charged here, and that's only going to ramp up the concerns that we are living in America with a 2-tier justice system.
Wow.
That's for sure. It's hard to even close your eyes to any of this now. People don't want to look, but they need to.
And if I have it right, he lies on the gun form to get the gun. He's on drugs. He leaves a gun in like a trash can in downtown Wilmington, and the Secret Service maybe took it out. Otherwise, some child could have gotten that gun. An adult with bad intentions, not knowing how to, and that's what Hunter Biden did. And you're right, the president said he never did anything wrong, and now he's pled guilty. John Solomon, we appreciate you jumping on it. Terrance and Karyn as well. Patriots, we'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 a.m. Eastern.
Can't fill up my tank. That's why I got
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. Christians not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
After we read your column from the Atlantic, that you know, these same people are people that were hounding me in '99 to vote against Bill Clinton on all 4 articles of impeachment. Right. So I said, well, we probably need to listen to the evidence first. They freaked out and said the man is not fit morally to be there. America's in decline. It's the end of our constitutional republic because he's immoral. So let me just say, of course, this has all changed. I don't have to name, you know, the payoffs to the porn stars and all the other things that they're just turning a blind eye to.
It's accepted.
I mean, you say in your column, the majority of Trump enablers still know right from wrong. But let me ask you something. It's our tribe. Right? So if Donald Trump has a disorder, if he's a sociopath, what went so horribly wrong with our tribe, whether we're talking about our Republican tribe, our conservative tribe, or our evangelical tribe? Why weren't there more Tim Kellers out there? Why weren't there more Pete Wainers out there? Why weren't there more Russell Moores out there?
Yeah, and Joe Scarborough's and others. Look, it's a question that I've wrestled with for a long time. One way I think about it is how many of these dark impulses existed pre-Trump in the Republican Party that I wasn't as alert to as I should have been. You know, if you go back over my writings, I called the Republicans out now and then. Looking back, I probably didn't do it nearly enough. Apart from that, what's gone on is you had a situation in which I think there were deep feelings of